Did that intro go way too hard for a card game? Nah. Why is it that destroying stuff is just so much fun to participate in, watch, and in this case, play? Now today, you and I are going to walk through everything you could possibly need or want to know about the Destroy archetype. We're going to take an in-depth look at all of the destruction cards, the cards that want to be destroyed. We'll be looking at tips that I've learned while mastering this archetype, favorable locations, counters to avoid, and then of course, those sweet meta top decks ranging from early pool 3 to top tier options. Now let's kick this video off with why play destroy decks, right? First of all, at its core, Marvel Snap only allows you to play 4 cards at a location, which gives destruction a huge advantage against bad location RNG like Central Park. Second, it has huge combos that are laughably easy to pull off. You don't need to rely on a bunch of cards to get the job done for some immense huge power. And then lastly, it counters the majority of the decks out there by a simple addition of 1 card. Taking a glance at all of the cards, this archetype is just garbage in Pool 1 and the options you have. It punches players right in the mouth in Pool 2. And in Pool 3, you're going to need loads of cards to make it work. But once you have them, it's simply the best. And I don't use that term lightly. Now, being the best, it does come with some cost, right? Any other game that you play out there, the top heroes, teams, and characters, everybody sees them all the time, and they know how to counter it because it's something that the whole community is focused on. Hell, this meta is all about shutting down Destroy and how to effectively do that because so many decks have a hard time competing with it. Let's use sports as a metaphor. You can make a game plan to beat the Chiefs. However, that doesn't stop them from being able to stop one of the best at it, Patrick Mahomes. All right, so now let's talk about cards that I think you actually need to know everything about. We're going to talk about the cards that destroy, but at the same time, we're going to talk about cards that want to be destroyed and then plug in a few others along the way. There's only so many cards that actually destroy cards in this game, especially ones that you can control. And we're going to start that out with Electra, which we're not going to talk much about her. You're never going to see her in Pool 3. Hell, I can't remember the last time that I've seen this card played. This might change in the future, but mainly this is due to her just being completely stomped by one other card named Killmonger. Now, you're going to unlock this guy in Pool 2, but you're still going to use him all of the time as a staple in Pool 3. Killmonger is an awesome counter to things like Ebony Maw, move decks all the way with Human Torch, and then you've got Zoo or Patriot decks that rely on all of those one-cost cards. This guy is a beast because he can shut down so many decks, but at the same time, he's going to be a huge benefit to your own side. He gives you 3 power, he's going to up your destruction numbers, and he's going to kill the cards on your side that are begging for death. The Hoods, the DeadPools, this guy's going to get rid of them no matter where they are on the board. Now, a couple of tips with Killmonger. For the love of God, unless you're playing DeadPool and you're trying to build that up, do not play him on turn 3. Hell, don't play him on turn 4. Let your opponent think they've got a fighting chance to win, and once they've laid down all of their options or they're depending on that huge sunspot, that's when you lay him down for the big finish. Now, as a Destroy deck player, there are not 3 cards you need to know more on how they work, learning all of the ins and outs than the next 3 cards. There are only 3 cards that you can target every card at a location and destroy all of it. We've got 1 that is used for your advantage, 1 to just get rid of everything, and 1 for combos. And we start out with Carnage. Now, Carnage, if there was an MVP in this deck guide, he would be it. He is a 2/8, which is absurd value and will be included in every single Destroy deck. And I truly mean every single one. He's extremely versatile, one of the best 2 energy cards in the game, and is fantastic for getting rid of all the crap on your side of the location. Our next one is Deathlock, who's just guns a-blazing. He's the guy in the action movie that kicks in the door with like double machine guns. Deathlock destroys everything at a location. He's best used for a follow-up on a destroy combo like Bucky Barnes. Like, you don't want to save him for late into the match because you're not going to have as much use for him. However, a 3 energy, 5 power stat line is crazy, because the only con to that you actually want for your side. And then he can be a good card if someone plays Cosmo. You just get the free stat line, or on Nowhere the Location. Killer card, man, through and through, and will be used in most of the Destroy decks that you create. Now, for the last card that you can control and destroy anything at a location, we've got Venom. Now, Venom is going to take a lot more strategy to play. He's not as simple as the last 2, but the payoff is massive. Now, his biggest con is he only has 1 power to his name, but he's perfect for setting up so many combos. The other con you want to look out for when playing Venom is he's going to eat everything at one location. Now, this can be great for some locations like Gamma Lab or Monster Island, but at the same time, if you have a negative card or if your opponent sends a Hobgoblin on your side, that's going to add negative to his overall power, so you do want to be somewhat careful of that. Probably the biggest, most important tip with Venom is he's huge on locations. Now, first of all, Shuri's Lab is going to add and double his power after he eats everything, which is so killer. But at the same time, he is going to go ahead and take advantage of those plus power locations. The +1, the +5s, Venom can eat that and add it to his own power. Lastly, Venom is a combo card through and through. If you pull him, you're going to want to aim for other cards to combo off, like Taskmaster, Typhoid Mary, Red Skull with 0 dex, and then, of course, Arnim Zola, which is our next card we're going to talk about, and the last card that truly destroys stuff on the field. Look at this guy. Doesn't he just scream, come cuddle up on the couch and have a cup of coffee? Arnim Zola might be one of my favorite cards in the game. At least top 10, and is by far one of my most split cards. He is the combo card to roll off so many crazy things to completely screw up what your opponent is thinking you're going to play. Now, the thing about Arnim Zola, he can only destroy one card at a location. So when playing him, you need to really get used to his playstyle. You always want to designate at least one location, whether you have him in your hand or still in your deck, as your Arnim Zola lane. Now, a lot of you guys know like Black Panther in the Arnim Zola combo, but your opponent, they're always expecting that. He's best played when they have no clue what you're going to do. They stack up heavy on cards on the one location that you're kind of all in on, and then you move whatever card's there to 2 other locations. It's incredible. But make sure you have room in those locations. That's absolutely huge. And the last thing I will say about our purple friend here is that when he plays those cards, they're not truly being played. So like Death's Domain, the cards are going to be able to stay on that location. And at the same time, it's going to reactivate their on-reveal effects, which is one of the biggest ways to abuse Arnim Zola. So Carnage to get rid of all the bad things like negative cards and rocks, Deathlock to kick down the door and destroy everything, and then Venom for combos. Cool? Let's talk about cards that want to be destroyed. Now, obviously, we've got cards from Pool 1 and 2 that you guys know by now. We're not going to spend a lot of time on them. Nova, the main thing I'll say about this card is I see way too many players, especially ones I'm going up against, destroy this card too early. Now, there's a lot of armors coming around, and I think some people are paranoid that it might get armored off. And if it does, just call it a loss and move on. We've got Wolverine next, who's just not a great card. He's okay. He fits into a couple of niche decks and situations. Most recently, Galactus, if you happen to have him, he can work in that deck. But I do think he's a candidate to get buffed at some point in the future. And Sabretooth, who I'm not crazy about. If you have no other options, then you can use him. Your opponent is going to know that you have a 0/4 card in your hand. Like, they're not just going to forget it if you're playing a decent player. And altogether, I'm not in love with Sabretooth, but again, both of these can be played in a Galactus deck. As for Pool 3, welcome DeadPool, one of the most fun cards in the game, a good card that is only going to get better. The more cards that can destroy that come to snap is going to rise up DeadPool's value. Now, unlike the risk of any other one-cost card in the game, DeadPool is begging for death. Each time he is destroyed, his power is going to double, which can lead to insane power plays. Now, quickly, some DeadPool tips. First of all, you want to obviously kill him as much as you possibly can. That means getting rid of him with your destroy options and playing them on curve as soon as possible. At the same time, you can pair him up with Forge or Hulkbuster for some big numbers and multiplying that stat over and over. The only thing I do want to make sure you guys know is he doesn't work like Venom. If you put him into a +1, +5 power location, it's not going to work. It's not going to all of a sudden make a huge DeadPool. The devs have been smarter than that. My favorite play to do with him personally is by playing him on turn 6. Once you have him nice and built up, you can play him followed by Taskmaster for a huge swing in power, and your opponent is probably expecting that just to go on one location. And we're not going to spend much time on Bucky. He's an insane value card that should and will be in every single one of your destroyed decks because of the value that he has. The small tips that I have is you want to make sure you play him before Nova if you do plan on doing that combo to ensure that Winter Soldier does get that power boost and not, giving it to Bucky, who's going to bite the dust. Other than that, this is why Destroy is just so insane, right? On the last turn of the game, you can do like Bucky Barnes followed by either Carnage or Deathlock for a huge spike in power. And then you got that free death that you got from, destroying cards earlier. It's insane how much power you can play on one turn. So those are the cards that want to be destroyed, but we've got to talk about a couple of others that you have to know about. Clearly, Death's name is everywhere if you play Marvel Snap, and it's for a reason. She's completely busted. You've got an archetype that's already so dang strong in Marvel Snap with big combos and power, and then you add a card that takes all those cons of destroying these cards, and it makes her cost reduced to a zero-cost option. She's so crazy that if you take what she does and apply it to other archetypes, it makes them like instantly even more meta-defining. Like discard, for a great example. If you have a card that has its cost reduced every time you discard one card, instantly, that card is going to be everywhere in the meta, and discard as a whole is going to go massively up in value, and that is what Death does for destruction decks. Now we've got the newest addition to Marvel Snap in Knull, who I was lucky enough to get in the token shop, and Knull just wants to see the world burn. No matter you or your opponent, Knull is going to add the collective of all of the cards destroyed to his total number for some hilarious, insane power plays. Knull is interesting. I don't think he's essential. He's more of a win more card, but he's got combos being discovered on a weekly basis to make him even stronger, with my favorite being what I like to call Arnim Nola, and that's going to be Arnim Zola copying and destroying Knull, and Knull's going to take that power, let's say it's 12, and when Arnim Zola destroys him, it counts as a destruction, and that's going to double his power in 2 locations. Absolutely crazy for a huge swing. He really can't be countered. People say rogue, but by the time you play him, oftentimes you're not going to have someone just guessing that you're going to play Knull, and they have to guess which location. Knull is extremely powerful in ramp decks, and then obviously Galactus. He's more of a meta-defining card with Galactus and his decks. Now lastly, with cards like Galactus, Death, and Knull, it's important to know, how does destruction in Death or destroy work in Marvel Snap? Now essentially anything that's not discarded is going to go into the graveyard, and that's going to count towards these cards. So yes, that means Lamentis, Death's Domain, all of those different locations that you see that get rid of a bunch of cards are going to count for Knull, and then it's going to count to reduce Death. Keep this in mind when you're playing against destroyed decks, but at the same time, if you're playing them, this is a huge advantage. I do expect them to change this sometime in the future. Maybe they don't, but it seems like something they might fix. We'll have to see. Now looking at the token shop and its priorities, essentially if you plan on playing this archetype, I would just grab these if you see them in the shop. But going from best to worst, Death is going to be obviously the first thing that you want to target. I would say Venom is very important as well, with Wave, Hood, and Mysterio all being staple options in destroyed decks. Mysterio is going to be easy fodder for Carnage, and at the same time, you can easily get rid of his illusions. Hood is just stupid good value. You're going to be able to get rid of the con of the negative card and get a 1/6 demon for free. That's absolutely insane. And then you have Wave. Death Wave currently is the way, the truth, and the dark as far as busted combos go in Snap. Now, they might change this. If they have, you can ignore this, but currently, playing Wave at the right time is imperative, and you need to know how it's done. Now, this doesn't mean that Death Wave, you're playing Wave on 3 and Death on 4 for the good value. Nope, you're going to be playing Wave on 5. If you've destroyed cards along the way, Death's cost is going to be reduced down to 0. And then you can play whatever you're going to on turn 6 and Death for the bang bang combo out there. Of course, that's why Leader and Leech are seeing a lot of play currently. And then you can combine all that with She-Hulk if you happen to have her for even a triple play. Now, lastly, before we go into the decks, let's look at both locations and counters. Favorable locations are going to be ones that aid you in the process of destruction. Death's Domain, Hala, Murder World for the free destruction of Bucky Barnes. You have Clintar, Warrior Falls, Danger Room, Lamentis. They all work massively in your aid to get a better destruction victory. And then as far as counters go, people are playing armor everywhere now. You got to be on the lookout for that. I wouldn't retreat right away if they happen to counter maybe your Nova or Nova and Bucky, but it certainly changes the way in the strategy you want to go about things. Wakanda is just a not fun location to have that you need to avoid. Cosmo can suck when it comes to your Carnage or Deathlock. Professor X is kind of in the same boat. Arrow can just feel terrible if she comes out and messes up one of your plays early on. And then Sandman will be used out there for Death, as well as Leech and Leader like we talked about before. All right, so we've covered the cards, the locations, the tips. Let's get to the decks. We're going to start out with the early Pool 3 options with less full collections. Now, destroyed decks do require a bunch of Pool 3 cards for the most part, but you can swap a lot of these out with cards you might already have. and then we're going to go into the more top tier options. Let's kick it off with the deck that is easily the most Pool 3 friendly. All you really need in this deck is Death out of Pool 3. We've got loads of 1-cost cards to destroy early on. We've got the Killmonger for the mass destruction. And with the meta being pretty destroy heavy, your opponent is going to help you out as well. Now, I've got DeadPool in my deck. You can have Squirrel Girl. You can double down if you do have DeadPool and go with a Hulk Buster. But this deck is all about getting double deaths with your Moon Girl on 4. Absolutely fantastic. We've got America Chavez to push all of the cards down. And this is a pretty reliable deck as far as destroy options go for early Pool 3. Now, again, you can kind of mix and match with different cards that you have. If you do have Venom or your other destroy options, this is definitely one to consider. Now, of course, you know Baero by now, but this is going to be a Pool 3 only Baero deck. And you guys can see the replacement cards down below, but this is the essential deck to kind of learn the basics and really master the combo that is Death Wave. Again, the main focus of the deck, you've heard it before, is to get some big initiative early and destroy cards in the process. We've got Yondu, which everybody always comments, why is he in the deck? He's going to go ahead and contribute to the graveyard counter, and that's going to reduce Death's total cost. So it's an easy 1-2 play to get that out there. We've got the Bucky Barnes and Carnage combos. You want to try to get those off a bit earlier than other destroyed decks. And then, of course, you have Arrow for the massive disruption. Now, Magneto is one that you can replace, but he does control and have a lot of power. So if you want to replace him, I would suggest something like Leader or Arnim Zola to really throw your opponent off. Now, of course, if you happen to have a huge Pool 3 collection and maybe She-Hulk, this is going to be the more optimal Baero deck as of today, the 2 Baes. And this is going to include the triple threat that is She-Hulk, Death, Wave, and then one other card. You can play them all for some insane value. And then lastly, we've got Thanos, who is an awesome addition if you happen to have him. You can play him and then carefully have his Infinity Stones played as tech cards. Have Killmonger come and kill them all, and then you get a free death play easily. Now, lastly, for Pool 3 decks that are a bit more on the early budget side, we've got this more Death Dino deck that you probably used in Pool 2. You can use cards like Devil Dinosaur in combination with the powerful combos that it provides. We've got Daredevil to be able to see what your opponent is doing, Hobgoblin to throw on the other side, and tons of replacement cards down below to fit your collection and playstyle. Again, don't worry about having DeadPool all the time in this deck. He's simply just one of the options. If you don't have Death, this is a deck that you can play with Destroy in Pool 3, and you want to go ahead and replace one of these options with her to go ahead and either copy up with Moon Girl. If you get 2 Devil Dinosaurs and 2 Deaths at the same time, like, good luck to your opponent. Now, if you guys haven't noticed, I left Destroyer off this list. That's kind of its own archetype. And for the most part, if you want to play like the best of the best in this current meta, the 2 Baes or the Baero deck is highly consistent. But for me, I love just playing Destroy. And that deck is kind of a blend of a couple of archetypes. So I want to play a deck more focused on something like DeadPool that still has a meta option behind it. We start out with Back from Death. Again, this is going to be that Arnim Nola combo that you're trying to get off. And this deck is all about getting a huge DeadPool that you can play on any turn. Or you can go ahead and eat up things with your Venom and Arnim Zola for a backup plan. We've got Taskmaster to copy that Arnim Zola, or that Taskmaster to copy the DeadPool. Shuri is a replaceable card easily that you can go ahead and pump up some of these other options. Or, like we talked about before, the huge combo that is Knull, and then you have Arnim Zola to go and split him across different lanes. This deck is all about having a high-powered DeadPool at the end of it all, but you can add these other cards to complement it as well. Now we've got the Absorbing Death deck, and this is a fantastic card combo deck, really relying on a big DeadPool to copy with our Taskmaster. Now, Absorbing Man is essential in this deck, so if you want to play it, I do recommend having him. And he's going to serve as a lot of different roles. You can play him virtually after any of the cards you see. Carnage, Hulkbuster to continue to power up DeadPool, Venom, Killmonger for a late play, and then Taskmaster is one of the best. Having Venom eat some big power options, and then you Taskmaster that, and then you Absorbing Man that, is a huge combo for late game play. And then lastly, we have Everybody Dies. And this is currently a very strong deck in Pool 3/5. You've got to have Galactus to make this deck work the best. You've got to have Knull. So these are going to be cards that you probably don't have, but I want to throw it on here for you guys. I myself don't even have Galactus, but I've talked to loads of the best players in the game that run this deck, and Knull is just insane for the combo of Galactus. This deck is all about reading your opponent on a turn 5 Galactus. You don't want to play him before that, and you've got cards like Shang-Chi, Dr. Octopus to pull all of their options out anyway, and then Destroyer/Professor X to rely on that as a backup plan. This is seriously one of the strongest decks right now if you happen to have the cards, and if you do, enjoy. All right, so there you go. We went through all the decks that you guys need to know about. Let's take them to action and do some matches. All right, so of course, we've got to play with a little bit of 2 Bae action or Baero. Right now, one of the most competitive decks out there. Again, guys, we're trying to get and establish some early turn initiative. We kill a Silver Surfer. What a way to start out. And we're obviously going to be going into the big death play. Now, we've got Limbo. That's only going to help us more with our She-Hulk. Fantastic. And it's going to kind of throw him off at what turn can we wave, or what turn do we want to wave. So nothing but the good stuff here. So we've got Carnage. Do we play him this turn? If we look at what we could pull, Hood and Bucky Barnes, 2 of our cards would obviously be great to use with Carnage, but I'm going to go ahead and just use them right now and get another death going for our total. He's going with the Patriot, but we did get rid of his Silver Surfer option, so he can't play anything crazy there. And we did pull Wave. So playing Carnage was probably the right idea. We've got Moon Girl to double up our deaths. That's going to just be terrible for him. And we're going to go ahead and end our turn. Don't want to play Wave. Definitely not right now. And all we have to beat is whatever he is going to do with that Patriot deck. Not going to be enough, unfortunately. And he played Brood, not in Raft, which is another win for us, guys. Everything's going well. Let's play Moon Girl. Left side, we're not even going to try to go for the Raft. Really no need to. Either way, he would have played Juggernaut, so that's great. And we've doubled up our cards, so yeah, things just let the good times roll. Let the good times roll. So we have a few options here. We kind of have to get some more destruction out. We can get one more with the Misty Knight. We do have double waves now, so theoretically we could double wave turn after turn. That's probably what we're going to do. By playing a card, it allows us to get one more, which we're hoping will be She-Hulk. If it is She-Hulk, we get the free play next turn, which is just absolutely filthy. We're going to wave, which is going to limit the options he can do really both turns. And we got Bucky Barnes. So kind of interesting what we could do on this turn. Unfortunately, the free She-Hulk is kind of out of question. But I think what we'll hit him up with is a death on the right side. We'll do one last wave for good measure. And probably end it. We could play the double death duo now. Let's go ahead. Since we know he's playing 2 cards and he has 1 card remaining from each one. Let's go ahead and play wave again. We're going to go and play wave one more time. Instead of doing the double deaths, which you could obviously make a case for. We're going to wave one more time. He didn't fill out his raft. Oh, he did fill out his raft with the debris, so that's kind of fun. But he only has 2 spaces left to make it happen. And because we waved, we're going to limit what he can do with his card options. And here we go, guys. Now, Arrow is not going to be a great play. Because we can't obviously force that in any which direction. This is just going to absolutely be brutal because we can get rid of the rocks and his Misty Knight. So I think the obvious play here is a death and Killmonger. And it just feels bad. He's retreating. And there's the power of 2 Bae. Just ridiculous. We could have played another death, and then we could have played Killmonger to wipe his board. Okay, so we've got another 2 Baes coming at you, and She-Hulk is in the starting hand. We've got a very interesting starting hand with nothing we can do, even though we have loads of low-cost drops. Now, that's okay. We still need to get that early initiative. We need to get some things working in our favor. But the good news is our opponent is playing a Destroy deck. So we're going to let him discount our death for us. Happy days. Happy days. And we can also play our She-Hulk now. Now, you don't always have to do the Wombo combo, guys. You know, you don't always have to play She-Hulk with death all in one turn. And because we're playing another Destroy deck, we're actually going to go ahead and we're going to play our She-Hulk now. He has no idea what we're playing. He's unable to get that Nova down. And this is definitely a weird way to play this. Because we're going to have to work around a lot of different options. Now, just from a value standpoint, we can go ahead now and have She-Hulk in one lane. We've got another big value. He also played She-Hulk, which is kind of hilarious. So we're playing another 2-bay deck. How perfect for this video. But we are a bit spread out better than he is. And we go into turn 5. So Titan and Dream Dimension kind of cancel each other out for the leader play on turn 5. We have Moon Girl, which if we played would just miss our death, which is a tad bit of a bummer. So let's look at the best optimal plays we can go with. I'm thinking... I mean, really, there's not a lot of great options. I'm thinking Moon Girl here is probably what we want to go with out of all the options that we do have. I'm kind of hoping he plays Wave for us. Okay, fantastic. So I can play whatever he can play death-wise, and we both have our She-Hulks out already. So really, there's nothing crazy that we can expect here. This is such an interesting battle. We've got leader, we've got death. Unfortunately, we don't have the double deaths. We could go with the double leader. I think that's the play that is as toxic as it gets. We had 60% of people say they hate leader in this game, but we don't even need to play our death because we know he's going to play death. This is just filthy. I mean, this is just filthy. We're going to play them both in the middle, too, to allow us with the most options. And you know what? We're going to snap into this. He's feeling confident. I don't think he's expecting the double leader. Really, the worst thing that could happen to us is just the play order is the only risky thing here. Both leaders on the other side would have been great. Oh, it's so filthy. Oh, my God. What just happened? He leadered my leader who leadered his leader who leadered the death, and I won that battle. So looking back, we could have played the leaders on these two sides. It would have taken us only to having a 16 advantage here, which if you do, the quick math, that's only obviously the 24 rather than the 12 additional death. And then if he would have copied this leader, he could have had space for 2 more. That's 8. So he could have 23. We would have had, what, 24 or 26 for that matter. So we still would have won. Either way, that would have been the safer play. But because we kind of expected what he was going to do, it turned out for us. What a weird, crazy-ass battle. So we've got our Back from Death deck. Now, you guys know everything you could possibly need to know about how this all works. So we're going to jump right into it. And you can see we've got our opening hand of Knull, Death, Deathlock, and DeadPool. A lot of dead and death in the hand. And these are great. We've got some good kind of late game options that we can set up now. And we've got DeadPool as well. Now, right off the bat, we don't have any options to kill DeadPool on their next turn, like Carnage. So that's a bit of a bummer for his maximum scaling. We got the Raft. And one thing to notice, you're going to have locations work kind of against you. Like the Raft, we can't really fill up first. But we also have Savage Land, which is great because we can get rid of these Raptors, and odds are our opponent can't, right? So he has Mr. Sinister. He was going to beat us to the punch either way. We did miss a DeadPool kill, and that's one of the worst parts about DeadPool is you need to make sure you kill him often. And this location is not going to help any further trying to get rid of this card. Unfortunately, massive bummer. Now, we do make up with it a tad here with Iceman. We can go ahead and get rid of him. I'm going to start kind of designating the lanes that I want to go for early. And I think we're going to kind of focus on the right lane and then the Raft. Because the nice thing about the Raft is he's kind of full in on his commitment there already, right? We're kind of working with a much different look of a deck. And sadly, we're going to have to kind of improvise. So we're going to go and play Shuri. On our next turn, we're going to play her on the right side. He's got the Raft and he has Patriot. We've got the Mystique Patriot combo. That's fine. And there's Nightcrawler. So we're about to get rid of all these one-cost cards. Fantastic. And we kill the DeadPool. Nice part is because of that Savage Land, we're adding like very quickly to our Knull. If you guys just saw there, because of what Patriot brought to the Knull, those were boosted up Raptors. And so definitely that's going to be our late game card. And at the same time, we also got the reduction on Death. So not a great DeadPool game, but that is why we've got kind of two things working for us. I thought we'd go ahead and get a cool battle to show off Knull out here quickly. So it's turn 5. Our next cards double the value, and this is where things get crazy with the Back from Death deck. Now, if we had a way to play Knull a little bit before, we'd obviously play him on this turn. But by playing Death in our middle location, it's pretty nasty very quick. So what we can do is we're definitely going to Arnim Zola that Death. Most likely, I would say, for our play and what we want to do. Now, that's going to be a 24 power Death, which is absolutely insane, especially to spread around. Bam, dropping the bomb there. We have DeadPool. We have Bucky Barnes. And this is where Arnim Zola is beautiful, right? This guy probably doesn't think we're going to drop an Arnim Zola on this Death. When they see Death come out, they assume, you know, that's the lane that he's going for. We're going to snap, see if he sticks around. We'll get 2 24s spread across the board. And that's probably going to be our easy dubs here against a Patriot deck. Now, we had Knull as a backup plan, and that's kind of what I mean by a win more card. And we lacked some of our options that we typically rely on with this deck. Altogether, really fun. At some points, it does struggle against certain locations, but I would say between the Raft advantage and not being able to reveal, we did pretty good. And he has a free 6-cost card, which we're about to find out. So he's going Ultron. Nicely done. Those are going to be pretty strong drones for what it's worth. I think he thought that was going to be what he would do in the middle lane. And there we go. Even with a 3-power boosted Ultron, one of the strongest things in the game as a last turn play. It's not going to be out 2 24 deaths. And then check out Knull at 41 if we went to like a turn 7. So great way to kind of show the first battle on how that deck works. I'm trying to get you guys a Arnim Nola combo, but things are just happening. They're retreating too early. I'll have the combo. It's like, it's frustrating not to be able to pull it. Let's see if we can make this work, though, with what we do have. Now, this is a great example. We're not going to be able to get this double DeadPool as that, you know, we spoke about earlier on the video, but I'll show you guys for good measure here. It won't be 12. It's going to be 2. But we can at least get our DeadPool kind of train rolling early. Now, one nice thing is you did see that Knull got the +6 power. So that's something that's nice to know. Yo, that would have been great later on. But hey, I guess I'll take a 15 Knull out the rip. And we're definitely... This is what I'm talking about. We're not going to get our Arnim Nola combo. Because there's no damn locations we can play him on. But at least we get him looking at the bright side. Goodness gracious, guys. He's snapping, so that means he's going to rely on his Destroyer combo probably that he's most likely playing. And we can already match that with our Knull. So all we have to do is get enough luck to pull either Venom or the Death Lock here. And it's pretty much a dub. Either that or we have Shuri. We have like 3 different cards that we can pull. I've tried to get the Arnim Nola. Trust me, it's badass, but that's all we could go off of. We do have footage of it, obviously, and I haven't pressed in turn. Here's his Deathlock. What the hell is this guy playing? All good. Yes, sir. We got the Deathlock combo, which means we can destroy our DeadPool, destroy our Bucky Barnes, and then we are looking mighty good to go. Hot damn, we got the right combos. The world ship threw us out. I tried one more battle, but we could still kind of go off this. Now, Shuri would be kind of the play that I wish we could do. Death into Knull is what we're going to do. We're looking pretty good. Let's see if he forfeits. We're going to have 23. And then we would have our Knull, which is currently sitting at an 18. Let's see if he has the grapes. He does. He's going Venom. Hello. Okay, does he Taskmaster this? This makes it more interesting. We still win. If he Taskmaster's right, that's going to be 15 additional. So that's 33. Which is kind of cool. Good for him. But because he just Venomed, look at guys. Look at this. Look at this. Look at us. I may have not gotten the Arnim Nola. I tried. I did. All right, I really did. I did a bunch of battles. Just didn't work out. But we got a cool Knull play either way. Because this wonderful gentleman here is playing a Venom, we're able to get our Knull to 32, which is pretty damn sexy. This is kind of a... I don't have Galactus, but hey, this is somewhat of what it would look like, even though none of the cards got destroyed earlier on. Have fun with that. He's playing Magneto, and that is where Knull is super sexy. And we got another 8-cube win. Okay, so we have an early Pool 3 DeadPool deck. Let's say you get Death and maybe you get DeadPool in the token shop. This is a deck that you could play early on, and we're playing against, you know, the top of the ladder here. And some things are already looking good right off the bat. Now, I put Nova down because obviously we do want to play Nova, then DeadPool, and have that kill order trigger the right way. But Shuri's Lab is one of the best locations for our guy DeadPool. Because it's going to allow us to go ahead and double his power way easier, way quicker, and it's definitely a huge, huge advantage if you get Shuri's Lab. Usually I would snap. We're not going to for this specific turn. Now, location-wise, we got Savage Land. Beautiful. More things that are helping us in our side here. And we're going to go and, instead of get rid of the Nova, we're going to just play our Rock, then Carnage. Carnage is not only going to get 4 extra power, but he's also going to get doubled. So we've got ourselves a 12 Carnage and a 4 DeadPool. So this is fantastic. If this guy's kind of eyeing us early on, he can see we're doing well. We've pulled 3 of our Subterranea cards. Unreal. Just unreal of getting that. And I know you guys can see our deck tracker here. We actually don't have the rocks that show here. They're below the death. But let's go into turn 4 with our kind of souped up DeadPool. Now, one option would be to Moon Girl DeadPool and get 2 of them. That would mean on turn 5, we could go ahead and get some kind of cheeky 1/8 actions in the middle. That's option 1. Option 2 is the 1/8 we play now and then do nothing else. I think we're going to go with a Moon Girl double 1/8. Now, we're going to have to get some great pulls here from our next round. Let's hope we get them. I swear, there's times this game just, it doesn't want me to be a content creator. If we would have gotten plenty of these other options, Hulkbuster, Killmonger, Deathlock, that would be great. American Chavez, Death, fantastic. Nope, this is what we're stuck with. But let's somehow try to make this work. We're not going to be able to blow the Nova up without something like Deathlock. So that's unfortunate. But we're going to kind of just go all in here and throw both of our DeadPools in the middle, get the 1/8, and hope we don't get our last... We can't even get another rock. We've gotten all 5 of them at this point. And here we go. What do we get? It's the American Chavez to use to push everything else down. So, this is a lose. We lost, unfortunately, here. He's going to have the Apocalypse at 12, and then, or even higher, 16. And then we can't beat out what's going to be that Morbius play. That's going to bump up to even more than that. So that's a bummer. I think that's what this deck looks like when everything goes wrong. You guys, I've seen the comments down below. People want to see more defeats. So here's one to show you. But I think you guys get the gist on how an early DeadPool deck would work out. Hopefully you guys have better luck than all of the rocks from Subterranea. That's up there on bad luck that I've had while filming some Marvel Snap. But it shows the premise of the deck, right? And that's what's important. So there you go. That's everything you could possibly want to know about the Destroy archetype up to this point in Marvel Snap. If you guys learned something new or you enjoyed this video, let me know and support me by liking today's video. That goes a long way to support. And if you guys are looking for more in-depth guides just like this one, I'm going to cover every archetype in Snap. So if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel today. You can unsubscribe at any time, and it helps massively, again, with some support. Hopefully you guys have a great day. Good luck with your Destroy decks. Let me know any comments below, and I'll do my best to respond to as many as possible. And until the next video, happy snapping.